All right, so we are here with our dinosaur. I'm having it here to because want to proceed. We're doing a little bit of a color texturing. I have a basic model here with some sculptural texturing, which we already created and applied. This is a model, a very heavy model. I have about 39 million polygons on it, which is a division of 5. So it's very, very heavy. Depending on the computer you're using, you may be able to use it or not, or get that high. I'm doing it that way because trying to keep it a bit better resolution for my sculpting and now for my painting. And for painting, I'm gonna go here. I already had it because I was playing with it a little bit to my paint brush. My paintbrush allows me. Let me just turn this off because that way we start from clean. So my paintbrush turns off my sculpting component and it just uses RGB, and I should be able to start adding on top of things and start getting a little bit better with my you know coloring of my guy. So I mean, here I just simply want to mention a couple of things that are important. One of them is, of course, we're painting, and we can paint based on our palette here and our main color, and then in the back, switch color. We have two colors for us to go and paint on our guy. And of course, you got to make sure that you're working on your correct object. And additionally to that, we have also the material. So the material, of course, makes an impression because depending on the material that you choose, your color may be affected. And of course, you don't want to be painting on a material that is going to be the wrong material and your output at the end. So I'm going to keep it on skin shaded. That way, it's more like a blank whitish tone that allows me to have my character there. I'm gonna just make sure that my symmetry is on. And to get started, just to play with it a little bit, the options that we have here is that we can apply any color to it. Just straight on, it just applies a color to the whole thing. You can also can try to go and paint on your guy using your basic paint layer and by trying to clicking on the little guy so you can make it paintable. That way I can start painting on it. So you need to turn on the little icon right there with the little brush. That way you can start painting on your guy. Or you can try going on the color here, and then you simply just say fill object, and the whole object should be covered with the color that you want. So pretty straightforward, not a big deal. Of course, you can change the colors to anything you want, and making sure that your design follows what you have in mind, which is great, but not exactly, the amount of work that I feel I could get too far, unless you're trying to do a more painterly style, which for that you will explore some other technique that we may talk about later. Now, if I want to be a bit more specific about the color of my object, I can always paint with a texture, and that texture gives me the opportunity to apply materials. I could use alphas or textures for doing it. One of the strategies that I discovered that I think is cool is that under texture, you have all the pre-created textures, but of course you can import your own texture. And in this case, for example, I have under my reference images, I went ahead and I went to texture.com and got a texture of an elephant. And then I just cropped a little texture into 1024 by 1024, and that becomes my, let me see if you can load it, elephant texture right there. And if I start painting just right away, it gives me that. If I zoom in on it, that looks like great, but it gives me an initial color. And just by repeating it like that, is using the color from the guide. You can always change it from dots to drag, so you can start dragging the color although this time that the texture is not aligned with my sculpting. So maybe that would have been nice if I had that texture and I had done it by using that and this at the same time. That way I could sculpt and texture at the same time. So I'm going to do that because my model already has some of that. So I'm going to keep it not adding, just simply playing with it. And you decide how much you want to do it. What I like about using this one is that it gives me kind of like a sense of noise that sort of matches it, and it becomes kind of like an overall look. Notice that I am painting on my highest subdivision level. That way you can, let's see what they call geometry here, and you can see I'm working on 5, which is a very, very high level of subdivision. So which could be kind of a challenge. So let me try to just quickly frame this guy and try to cover him with this material, or better with this texture, so I have a good beginning opportunity for me to make it look the way I want it. So this is kind of like a base foundation, although I could have put a different base at a low, like a different color or something to get started. And then I could have, done a bit more, but I'm gonna just keep it like this for now. Let me just zoom in a little bit and move it a bit more. And again, you have to get into your, here is kind of because I changed my focal shift too low. You see I start seeing the square, so let me undo that. And I'm gonna go correct that, making sure that my focal shift is still big. That way it is, the texture is working better. If you don't like it, like for example, because by scaling it, it changes your coloring. I suggest you to try to keep it big then, and then we can paint the mask on it, right? By pressing your control key, you can go and paint the mask. Not this one. This one is using the mask that I wanted to show you. Let me just turn that one off for now. I'm gonna just paint the mask. And again, mask, I'm painting holding my control key. And I'm gonna change my size there so my mask is not too big. Sorry, that's not it. Size. All right, somebody was gonna paint the head. Let's say I'm gonna do a quick little doing that. I click too many times. Let's see if I can do it now. You can spend more time on it. So I'm going to just make it quick here. So I'm not painting his head. Although I could paint the head with the same coloring, I'd be fine. Sorry, not that. I would forget to, there you go. Not that. There you go. And then go with a mask here. All right, and then I'm gonna just try to paint with my brush, making my brush a little bit larger. So I keep the same. Let me change my focal shift very tiny. That way I don't get so sharp of a transition on my texture, right? So that gives me a better opportunity, and I can continue going painting the body. So this is a good start that I can, modify my guy. I can also give it a different tone by putting an alpha to it. So let's say, for example, I'm painting with this color, but I want to just sharpen or modify the way the object is applied. So let's say, for example, I go and grab this alpha, and then I'm going to actually try not using the dots, but using this drag. I try to see if I can start adding some variations. Let me try to zoom in there. On that. So I'm trying to just paint with it a bit more, or I can just modify my texture here and go into another one that gives me a different type of color, or just simply turn it off and then just say change the tone a little bit to a color that I can try to maybe get a tone that is a bit lighter from what I have there. So I can then start painting lighter spots, maybe a little bit lighter. There we go. So I start getting a bit better results. On my guy. Other options could be, going and trying to say maybe I want to use an alpha as a way to add little effects. Well, let's say, for example, I had created this bubble, so I downloaded that one from pixel.com. And same thing, I can use it as a way for me to create sort of like a bubbly effect on it. It's up to you how much you want to use that. Other ideas that come to mind relate to applying or painting the object a little bit differently. But before I show that, actually, I want to just go, and I was forgetting something. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to move my object a little bit here. There is also the option of painting on the creature by modifying the way the brush is applied. Let me just turn this one off. When I go back to the head, oops, not that. It's just a bit funny to move it and not painting. Okay, let me just try to get the head. I'm gonna control and mask off the head, and then I just try to paint the head. And right now I have just black paint. And I'm going to try to paint that head. Let's say, let me put a different color right there. I'm gonna use a more vivid tone. I want to actually switch in this. All right, so using the wrong one. I will just try to get it here then. And notice how my brush is not, my dots are not painting all the way. Let me change the size of my brush so that you can see what's going on. And I was working right there as you expected it to be working from the beginning. But you can always go here under your stroke and you can change the way your stroke is defined. So for example, you can use the lazy mouse, and by that you can slow down the amount of times that it does. And let me just change the color so you can see the effect. So now I'm painting, and it paints kind of every almost two sorry, stroke here, almost two steps, or it just tries to go too far. But you can try doing that, or you can try doing that while you're using a texture, so that you maintain your texture looking a bit more the way you want it. You can also add to it on the stroke. Here there is this opportunity for you to use modifiers and work the jitter, and jitter makes the stroke kind of like a move a bit more like in different directions and different rotations, so that it makes it a bit more organic looking. So it's not the right texture that I probably would you be using, but it's for the exercise. It makes the example okay. I'll try to just get a little bit painting I'm gonna change here, there. I can also always go back to my original one, or can use some of the pre-existing ones that come by default with the program. I can change my area and influence. I'm gonna change my stroke back to get something a bit more under my lazy stroke, lazy mouse. I'm gonna bring it down to something like this, so I can just get a bit better look of that. There you go. That makes it a little bit stronger, I think. You can always go and change this and use, a darker looking texture so that you can have. Let's change the wrong one. Let me see. Here, try to paint a little bit better some of the stuff that you want to do. All right, so this is pretty cool. I'm gonna turn off my thing. I can just continue painting on your guy as you want him to be detailed. Now, I want to add some more information on it.